Hello and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to work on the first part of a rock paper scissors game for SDL2. In this tutorial we're not going to concern ourselves with SDL2 or anything like that. We're just going to put together a test harness that we can handle in the next tutorial. So in other words, we're just going to build something that does what we want without an interface. It's not going to be a fully functional game at this point, but it will be in future tutorials. So let's get started. So I'm going to launch Code Blocks, which is my editor of choice. By all means use whichever one you want to use. We'll have a new project. It's a console application and we'll doing this in C. And we'll call it RPS tutorial. Okay. Right, so we should have a main file, which is where all C programs sort of run. Just gonna, out of habit, I'm gonna build that and run it. Just make sure that it works, and it does. Okay. And then I'm gonna add a file to the project, a new empty file. Would I like to add it to the project? Yes. And then I'm going to call it defs.h. Okay. Right. So basically we need a way of determining values for rock, paper, scissors. I'm going to keep this simple with just constants. I'm not going to start building structs and anything advanced like that. Let's just keep this simple and functional. So int rock will be 1. In paper will be 2. I'll just sort of spread that out a little bit, make it a bit more readable. Int scissors equals 3. Okay. I'm just going to make sure that compiles without any issues. Yeah, okay. So, doesn't really do anything, but we know that the code's good at this point. There's no sort of errors in there. Except I spelled that wrong. Okay. It's better, isn't it? Got there in the end. Right. Rock 1, paper 2, scissors 3. So, what we need, probably want to tell the program to include that file actually. Include, and because it's coming from the same program, goes in double quotes. And then we can put a variable in, so int player choice, which will default for now to rock. Int computer choice, which will default now to paper. Okay. Again, I'm just going to make sure that there's no problems. And it likes it. So, what we need to do is calculate the winner, basically. So, just to mention, I've hard-coded these deliberately for the purpose of the test harness. So in the next tutorial, when we design the interface, we'll get the interface to programmatically change them. But for now, we'll just stick with this, just so we know the code is good and it works. Okay. So we need a function, and we'll say calculate winner. And then we're going to need to pass some values in. I'm just going to change the names of these. I'll put an int in front of them just so it's obvious that they're an integer. And same on these. I'm going to say it's an integer. It's a parameter player choice which we're passing in. I'm not messing around with pointers at this point. There's no need. Int computer choice with a p in front of it again. So basically, this function now expects two inputs, the player choice and the computer choice. What we should probably do now is think about the winner, shouldn't we? So do it the same way we did for these. So I've just gone back to the defs.h file. We'll have an integer and we'll say winner draw, game's a draw, value of 0, winner is the player, value of 1, and then let's say, I don't know, draw player computer. Okay. I think that will work. Some 1 is a bit of variables not being used, but that is correct. We've got variables all over the place. We haven't yet used them, have we? So what we want is we want in winner. So we'll have a winner variable in the scope of the function, and we'll default it to winner draw. So it's going to assume it's a draw. So in other words, if that is not equal to that, then it can't possibly be a draw, so we've got to think about it. Otherwise, skip over it and return that value. Okay. So, again, there are loads of things we could do to optimize this. I mean, I've used integers throughout for argument's sake. If we were really on a, trying to optimize this, we might use a smaller data type. But at the end of the day, if we have to worry about that with a program like rock paper scissors, then you've probably got bigger problems like trying to run an operating system. But to be fair, right. P int player choice, P int computer choice. So my comment there is that I'm going to do a lot of repeatable code to get to the end of this, but mainly just to explain what's going on, and just to keep it simple rather than overcomplicate matters. So we're only going to come into this block if it's not a draw. So we've already established that if those two values are the same, it must be a draw, so we don't do anything, we skip over it. So we've got to say, well, if the player choice equals rock, then we're going to do something. So let's get that right first. So basically, if in player choice, if it's rock, then we've got to worry about the computer choice, haven't we? So if computer choice, if p int computer choice, so if that was, I don't know, let's say paper, then in that case the winner is the computer, isn't it, I think. And just give me a second, let me just copy that, paper, scissors. Okay, so let's get that right. So player's got rock, paper, paper wrap stone, so computer wins. So winner. Sorry, my fault. Winner computer. I couldn't even remember my own naming convention. Copy that, but in that case, the winner is a player. Okay. So that covers that scenario. So I'm going to copy it just to save us a bit of time. This time we're going to say, well, it might select paper. Okay, so if he's got paper, then there's no way the computer could have done paper, so that would be rock, right? So in which case, if the player has got paper, but the computer's got rock, then the player wins. And if the player has got paper, but the computer has got scissors, player wins. So is that right then? Actually, I was wrong. It's the word computer, isn't it? Sorry about that. So the player has paper, computer has rock, paper wraps stone. You can see how I'm confusing myself here. Right, what I should have done was this. Do apologise. So we've got the player choice, but we should be comparing the computer choice. Computer choice equals rock. Computer choice. Oh no. I am right. If player choice equals rock, then computer computer. Player equals paper, computer computer. I can sit here and program C all day and rock, paper, scissors boggles my brain. Typical, isn't it? Start again. So if the player has rock and the computer has paper, paper wraps stone, so the computer wins. If the player has rock and the computer has scissors, then the rock will blunt the scissors, so the player wins. If the player has paper, but the computer has rock, then the paper wraps the stone, so the computer wins. That is right. If the paper has player and the computer has scissors, then the scissors cut that and the winner's computer. Really? Okay. If there is anything wrong here, because there could very well be, because I'm sort of rushing it, we can come back and correct it later on. Let's just get the test harness up and running. I don't think it'll be beyond the wit of man to correct. So, if the player's chosen, so we've got player choice rock, player choice paper, so we now need to think about scissors, right? So that's got to be paper. So if the player has scissors, computer has rock, in that case the player wins. Does he? No, he doesn't. If the player has scissors and the computer has rock, then the computer wins, definitely. If the player has scissors and the computer has paper, then the player wins. Which makes me think that top one's wrong. So player has paper, the computer has rock, rock wraps the computer, so actually the player wins. Probably already spotted that, to be honest. And then let's scroll down. Okay, so if the computer has scissors, yeah, computer wins, that's fine. That's right, I think. Okay. Just going to compile that to make sure that there's no sort of obvious errors in the code. Might tell us there's a few unused variables. Okay. Right then. So we now need to capture the value, and I think for the test harness we're pretty much done. In winner, that will be equal to this function, and we'll feed it a value, player choice obviously, and then the computer choice. Right, let's just make sure that that still works. It does, so I'm just going to do a printf again. This time I'm going to say, so we'll just get the value now rather than the text, because we don't need it at this point. It is only a test error, so the winner is, and then we need a %d, and then we'll throw in the variable value winner. Okay, just going to go to the defs, just copy them out, just so that we've got these here. I'm going to comment them out, by the way. so they don't do anything. I'm telling it to ignore them. It's just so that we can check, because we can mess around with these now. So rock, paper. So in that case, the computer should win. So when I run this, the value that should display is 1. Okay, so the winner is the computer. So I'm only going to test a few because we can do proper testing later on in the tutorial. So I'm going to make it a draw by giving them both the same value. So we rebuild that. Let that go. The winner is 0. It's a draw, which is what we forced. So we now need to make the computer win. So the computer wins by having paper. Oh, I've made a mistake. Can you see? Okay. So that value should be 2, right? So I'll put that there. That has no effect because we've commented it out. I'm going to have to go back and just change it there, okay? Well done if you spotted that. Okay, so I'm just going to have to retest. So in that case, player chooses paper, computer has scissors, and in that case, computer wins, so we should get a value of 2. 2, and then if we reverse that, should get a value of 1. I'll do a full rebuild. Okay, value of 1. So we can now, what we've got to do now is 2 things. So we need to generate a computer choice randomly, which we'll do in the next tutorial. And then we need to design an interface with some buttons which allow us to programmatically set this value, okay, and basically calculate the winner, which will be the next one. We'll also cover off installing SDL2 as well to allow us to do it. Okay, I hope you find that useful. I'll see you in the next tutorial.